Beneath the boulevards of Paris runs an entire city that the city above prefers to forget. I descend a narrow stair, the temperature drops. The light thins by degrees, swallowed by stone. These catacombs were carved for practicality, quarries of building stone, later repurposed into ossuaries. A methodical relocation of the dead from overcrowded cemeteries to tunnels out of sight. The air tastes old, mineral, the silence punctuated by distant drips. The bones are stacked with a care that is almost administrative. Femurs, skulls, arranged like books on a shelf in an enormous clandestine library of mortality. In some chambers, the bones form decorative patterns, hearts, crosses, geometric arrays that feel both reverent and unsettling. The catacombs wind in a labyrinthine geometry for hundreds of kilometers. Only a small portion is officially open to the public. Beyond the sanctioned paths, the tunnels continue, unauthorized, often illegal. Candlelight trembles on limestone as guides tell stories of clandestine societies and midnight gatherings. The cadence of my voice grows quiet here. The tunnels reward lowered volume with deeper attention. Scientists, archaeologists, they have found hidden rooms, concealed graffiti spanning centuries, makeshift shelters. One eerie discovery unsettled specialists. Skeletal remains arranged in ritual patterns. Passages with inscriptions dating back to the 18th and 19th centuries. Some are pleas, some are dates, some are crude drawings that hint at secret gatherings. The tunnels harbor unexpected ecosystems, fungi, insects. Biologists visit with notebooks and gentle awe. Navigating requires humility. The walls sometimes close too close for comfort. The light from our lamps seems small in the vastness. Authorities patrol selectively. Hidden passages are protected by collapse risk and caution. I climb back into the Paris daylight, smelling of stone. Above me, people sip coffee, oblivious to the library of bones beneath their footsteps. In the clear, cold waters off Yonaguni, a silhouette appears through the lens like the suggestion of a city. Flat terraces, near-perfect right angles, stair-like ledges. I watch as light fractures through the waves and lays a trembling grid across basalt surfaces. Divers have photographed what looks uncannily like carved blocks, planar faces, and geometric regularity. The sea holds its breath around these forms, and experts below and above water argue in low, urgent voices. Some geologists call Yonaguni a natural freak of geometry, sedimentary layers, faulting, and wave action. Archaeologists and other observers, however, point to alignments, terraces, and what appear to be roads or causeways. I approach this with reverence. Images show what might be steps carved into stone, a platform that takes on the proportions of intentional design. The geometry is uncanny right angles that defy easy explanation, smooth faces that look like they were hammered by hands. If man carved these stones, what civilization did the work, and where did they go? If the sea shaped them, why is the symmetry so exact? There are theories that these structures could be the remains of a lost island culture, drowned by rising seas at the end of the last ice age. Another, more disturbing hypothesis suggests that our record is far more incomplete than we admit, that entire chapters have been erased by water. Some even whisper of a deeper, darker option, that these shapes are neither wholly natural nor wholly human, and that something in the layering process created a mimicry of intention. Divers report an odd stillness. Instruments register barren readings, yet in the grain, scratches refuse comfortable explanation. Either we live in a world with more accidents of nature than expected, or we have submerged chapters of our own making we barely remember. As I resurface, the sun slices the water into points of silver, and the shapes beneath blur into myth and measurement. Yonaguni demands patience, argument, and further exploration. It will not hand over its story easily. For every photograph that suggests human craft, there are quicksand theories ready to pull the certainty away. The Mariana Trench is not a place of rumor. It is an extreme, a vertical continent that begins where the sea becomes a wall and plunges down into an absolute black. Reaching Challenger Deep is a negotiation with pressure. At those depths, the ocean weighs on you with the force of a mountain. I have spoken to pilots and scientists who describe the descent as entering a physical solitude unlike any other. Light evaporates, sound is choked into a different language, and instruments become translators of a world we cannot otherwise touch. The Hadal Zone hosts life adapted to crushing pressure and an eternal night, organisms that rewrite our definitions of resilience. Bioluminescent flickers, siphonophores, chirping crustaceans. Strange life takes its forms, in colors and motions we can scarcely imagine. The sheer isolation makes the trench a vault, a place where biological and geological processes run on a timetable alien to human expectation. Pressure tests, deep-water cameras, remote-operated vehicles have scraped at this vault, returning frames of a world both fragile and implacable. Here is a final, shocking fact. More than 90% of the ocean remains unexplored, and within the abyssal and Hadal zones, vast stretches have never been surveyed by modern instruments. Challenger Deep itself has been visited by only a handful of human contraptions and a handful of pilots. The data we have is patchwork, stitched from brief forays that captured glimpses but not the whole. That leaves room for discovery, and for the uncomfortable possibility that very large things, very ancient things might lie where we have not yet looked. There are stories in the scientific community, unusual sonar readings, anomalous structures on maps, organic matter in abundance. Most are patiently explained by geology, hydrothermal vents, sediment slides, collapsed canyons. But there is a type of stubborn silence that comes with the trench, a sense of waiting. I lower my voice here because the final truth is a simple, cruel arithmetic. The deeper we go, the less we know. The trench reminds us how small our daily certainties are, how limited our reach when the world bends downward into pressure and black. And there is a cliffhanger the ocean keeps. The deeper maps give way to blankness, and in that blankness, the mind begins to assemble its own possibilities. Some beautiful, some terrible. We have moved together through abandoned classrooms, amusement parks frozen in panic, secret libraries of bone, drowned terraces that challenge our timelines, and the weightless silence of the deepest ocean. Each place carried its own aesthetic of absence, 5 edges we were not meant to cross, and crossed anyway.